I'm Dan, and this is 10,000 Hours of Indie, a podcast exploring new music and delving deeper into what goes on in the background of the independent music industry. I'm a musician and passionate music lover, and I wanted to delve deeper into new music in the independent scene around the world. I also saw this as a chance to help artists connect and share their stories, so if there's someone you hear and you want to find out more about, every podcast has links in the show description. Get involved, help this community grow, follow on the 10,000 Hours of Indie socials, you can find all the links in the show description. And also feel free to email me about anything music related, 10,000indie@gmail.com. I'm open to any ideas and love listening to your promos. In 2019, psychedelic rock and disco-influenced collective Ista, an acronym for In Sound to All, was born. The Brooklyn-based seven-piece blends psychedelic rock, funk, punk and electronic music to create something danceable and modern while still having a firm nod to what has come before. Last month, the band self-released their latest single, Low Fruit, which I've been dancing around my living room to ever since. So what better time to find out more about them? I'm speaking to Rex and Oliver. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us, Daniel.
Thank you.
We should start with the band name. Where did that come from and what inspired it?
Ollie and I were playing another band called Kunzite in 2019. We were doing like a month of rehearsals with the band in Southern Oregon. And we had a different band called Ecstatic Union before. We started working with our producer, Sam, in early 2019. Right? Yeah. As that developed with him, it just didn't feel like the same band that we started working with him as. And we felt like we needed a fresh name after just lists of names. While we were up there in Oregon, there were some synchronicities around that word specifically. There's like a million organizations actually called Ista, if you were like look up Istas. And our friend happened to be in some iteration of an Ista, and we thought that it just sounded cool, and we were tired of trying to like derive meaning for a name ourselves or have it like really, it's just something that sounded cool, felt good, was easy, could be memorable.
Also ambiguous.
Yeah, ambiguous. And it's like also Ista is like a suffix, like kind of end, like a purveyor of things, a fashionista or artista, whatever. Like that was a fun kind of meaning from it. In Sound to All was literally just like looking at it and going, it could mean in sound to all if it needs to be an acronym kind of a thing. We have these like Istanbul symbols on the drum kit. I was playing and on all the rest of the word Istanbul had been rubbed off except for the Ista on it. And friend points it out. He's like, oh, there's that. It just kind of kept coming in these little ways that it just felt right. Yeah.
Like the numbers in Lost, they just kept coming back.
There you go.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you've obviously got a huge range of influences. Tell us about what music you were listening to that inspired the band's sound.
The vein of psychedelic rock, 70s funk, African psychedelic funk from the 70s, Afrobeat, just like anything like African from the 70s was definitely we listened to a lot around then. And then the classics always live with us. And then also, I think in that early phase too, like a lot of the modern bands that we were liking, the records that were coming out were like Parquet Courts, that record that came out, what's that, like Total Football in like 2018 or 2019, and like White Denim. Sam Cohen, our producer, actually was, before we were even working with him, he was like an influence. I was a fan of him before I knew that my friend was like close with him, and actually we had like a connection to meet with him and start working with him. So that's like more of the modern influences in certain ways. But I come from like a 70s rock and punk rock background. Oliver comes a lot from like metal and technical guitar background. But we both love like both of all of those different things in different ways. And that's like the long and the short kind of answer of that.
When we first met, we were into a lot of, like Moody Blues and stuff like that. We started out as like an acoustic loose collective in our last band, and so a lot of those influences probably subtly carried over as well.
It was like a loud electric rock band that we had previously, and then actually some friends from Wales came over to California in like 2010.
2010.
And they were a 4-piece acoustic folk 4-part harmony, 3-part harmony situation. And it was a direction that we kind of just like wanted to go anyway. We're like, let's just like make a new project and play music with them. And so that kind of like reformed into that, and then eventually expanded back into the full band rock thing. But we kind of took a little like side quest into more like a more folk dimension. And we went to high school in Laguna Beach together, and Ty Segall was a couple of grades older than us. He was kind of a mentor for me when I was like 15, 16. Him, Charlie Moodhart, Michael Cronin, that whole crew of friends that, you know, Fuzz, Ty Segall, they had like Charlie and the Moonhearts, their like early incarnations, the Epsilons. But it was kind of like my upbringing was with that SoCal rock scene that then migrated up to San Francisco, and then they came back down to the LA area in the last like 10 years.
Yeah, Laguna was a really cool bubble for certain bands at that time that really ended up blowing up. Michael Cronin used to host these shows at his house, which was next to my house in Laguna. And so going to those and just kind of feeling the bubbling of people starting projects and then actually taking it somewhere outside of Laguna was a pretty cool thing to witness. It was pretty influential, I'd say.
So what in particular was your musical aim when you set up the band? I mean, you say you started this particular project acoustically and things. Did you sort of have a long-term goal, and have you reached it yet?
Well, in that early iteration, it was to kind of fit with what our friends from Wales were coming and doing. They wanted to come to the States for the first time, and we were fans of their music. And I was really in this like contemplative phase of my life. I was going to a liberal arts school in Colorado that was started by a Tibetan Shambhala Buddhist and Richard Alpert, who was Ram Dass, who came from like the tantric tradition lineage. And so I was in this very like meditative yogic mindset at the time, and I was mostly playing just like loud electric rock music up to that point. So I was just like turning down the volume a bit in those ways, and like wanting to explore those dimensions. And I was living in Boulder, Colorado, and it's a huge folk scene there, folk and bluegrass. So that just kind of made its way in there. The aim at that point was just to kind of have like share Summer of Love vibes with our friends in a band and just like explore and go share music. It was a lot of like street performances, a lot of busking, a lot of booking shows, maybe like a week or two in advance, just like, let's go travel to this place and do some stuff. And we can play at this coffee shop. It was very loose. It was kind of just like a departure from earlier, let's just follow a rock and roll path, to like, let's just enjoy our friends and, you know, find rivers to swim in, and, you know, like, just like, cool. Yeah, very, very like out of high school, kind of in between college and in college years. And then the aim that came out of that was like making a record. You know, I mean, for me personally, I hadn't recorded an album yet. So by the time I was 21, it was, that first album was like a consolidation of my whole musical life at that point. It was really focused on sonically kind of like those years that you know, there's like violin on it and some sitar, and that Ollie got on there. There's like piano and saxophone. It was kind of just like throwing everything at it. And it was kind of cinematic, also due to like our friend Paul, who we worked with on it, who produced it. And then it was us just trying to give a live credence to that album once we started getting invited to do things, once that album was out. The aim, I'd say, was just to like play festivals, if there was any name, to get invited to play music festivals. I'd say in some ways now, like with the whole journey that we've been on since then, that's like, you know, talking quite a long time ago.
Yeah, this
like
is still our old band, like considering. Ista wasn't conceptualized yet.
Yeah, Ista didn't really actually form until 2020. And that was like me wanting to put down the guitar, free up my physicality more, be able to run around and have this like big backing band going on. I'd say the aim is still to just play festivals, just play, get invited to play large, fun music festivals. That'd still be the aim.
What's the appeal of a festival? Is it the fact that you get to draw in new people?
Having enough space on stage finally.
That's huge.
That's right.
That's huge. We were a 9-piece live like this whole year. All our shows, there was 9 of us, so 8 for the last like 3 or 4 shows. It feels a lot different on a big festival stage than in a club. It's still fun.
Yeah, both are fun, but yeah, it's definitely freeing being on a larger stage.
And just there's just an atmosphere at a good festival that like we just played Grace Potter's Grand Point North Fest up in Vermont, and I mean it's such a beautiful place. It's right on Lake Champlain.
We got to play during sunset. It was so beautiful. Yeah,
sun setting over the water while we're playing, and I mean obviously the opportunity to play in front of more people, and but just the atmosphere that there tends to be like a nice supportive and well-structured atmosphere at a good music festival that is unmatched experience for a lot of other get in, do sound check, play the show later, leave. Like it just, you kind of get to live, like it feels nice to live there for a little bit.
And just like the kind of genre bending aspect that Ista tends to go for, it fits really nicely in festivals usually because there's usually, depending on how it's coordinated, there's a lot of different genres being displayed at a music festival.
I've seen your music described as psychedelic love bomb. Is that a term you came up with, or did somebody else come up with that?
It's probably someone else.
In some iteration of writing a bio, maybe that was like something that I just was like, oh, yeah, that's like what I'd like it to feel like for people. So yeah.
Is that how you would define your genre?
Psychedelic love bomb?
Yeah.
You could if you wanted to. It's usually just a lot of things that happen is like someone goes like, sounds like Black Sabbath and the Bee Gees, or sounds like Casey and the Sunshine Band meets like, who was that? Like at that one show that they said like something gnarly, like Zeppelin meets Casey and the Sunshine Band or whatever. Like that's the stuff that I usually like to hear. And sometimes, people say an awesome kind of thing that they come up with for whatever genre it is, but I don't know how to define it still.
Because it's kind of the intention is just to have like throw a party, have it be party music, basically, like get people hyped up. But yeah, it's hard to place it in terms of like describing ourselves as like a rock band is probably the easiest like umbrella thing. But
our manager likes to encourage us to say alternative. We are alternative.
Oh right, yeah.
Whatever that means, like everything, I guess.
I think alternative just means you don't do it the way everybody else does.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably that, because usually the comparison is like a band that's already kind of doing that, and then a kind of specific something. Like I heard B-52s with Aretha Franklin at the festival. So just like people have different like perspectives when they hear it on what we sound like to them, I guess.
I actually heard at that last festival someone mentioning they were from Brazil, and they were like, oh, I heard a lot of like, and then it hit me too of like, oh yeah, like I was listening to so much Brazilian psychedelic samba when we were writing a lot of those early Ista songs too. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's in there too for sure.
And something that I'd like to bring up is the Live at Ghana Wilson Pickett concert. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's just incredible. The Land of a Thousand Dances. It's the live video from that. That definitely struck a chord with us back in 2018, 2019 when we first saw that. Huge band on stage and
a bunch of the crowd on stage.
Mm-hmm.
It's like where it feels like a family reunion and everyone's, but like the most amazing family reunion like you could imagine.
As you formed in 2019, you probably didn't have that much time to work together before COVID made things difficult. How did that all work out for you guys? Because obviously when you're a new band, you just want to be making things.
Yeah, well, we were making the record with Sam from the beginning of 2019 until the beginning of 2020. And we started with a bang, really. Like we got everyone together and we played about 3 shows. First one was like an unannounced kind of secret show thing to warm up. Second one was at the Sultan Room in Brooklyn, one of our favorite little venues in Bushwick. So fun. We got invited to maybe play like 6 more shows over the next like 2 or 3 months. So there was like a really nice trajectory going. And then we went out to LA to work with Kunzite for the first shows, that band, like the debut and a few new singles, release parties and stuff like that. And then the lockdown started while we were out there. So We had a lot of steam, a lot of momentum, basically just until March 15th, day after my birthday, and we were all in LA. And
it definitely delayed the debut of record as far as our expectations on when to release it after it was completed.
Yeah, because we were almost done with it. We finished it in the fall of that year of 2020, which was really just like tying up a few songs, like just adding some parts
Vocal
here and there, just adding some vocal
overdubs.
parts, getting the ladies on stuff. And then, yeah, that even though the record really only took like a year and change to make, it didn't come out for like 4 years. It didn't come out till 2023. I'd say like the lockdowns and that whole experience kind of has given us this, like, we always feel like a new band. Like we just did this run of 10 shows this summer, which, as you know, as a father as well, like that was a lot of coordination for Deanna and I, who are also in the band and have almost 3-year-old and a little over 1-year-old. So 10 shows was a lot for us. And last year we did like 2 shows, and the year before that we did like 2 shows in the whole year. So we still feel like a new band in a lot of ways. And I'm actually still appreciating that and relishing in that, because it gives us a certain amount of freedom.
So on to the latest single, Low Fruit. I've described it as a fuzzy, anthemic and infectious dance tune, or dancey tune, should I say. Tell us a bit more about the song and how it came about.
Well, a lot of this record that we are done with now, actually, we're just finishing the mixes on. A lot of the process for, I'd say like more than half, was me making seeds, like just going in and getting really focused for a few hours, and I'd have one idea, would go somewhere, and then another idea would get spit out. And usually that first idea was kind of like a warm up to put me in the place for like the second idea to just come out. We were sharing those back and forth a lot. Oliver was still on the West Coast at this point. We were living on the East Coast together for a while. He went back out to the West Coast. So my process was really just this was right after, I think my son had just turned 1 or first. And it was just like this disciplined practice for that time. Like my wife and I at that point for a few months were just trading days, actually watching him before we had some sitters worked out on the days that we could have time for creativity. So I was just kind of making seed ideas, passing them back and forth with Oliver and Evan, and going over them with Deanna. And then we take them to Sam and then just flesh them out. Some were a little more clearly formed when we went in, of just like, oh, this is it. And a lot of things, it was just kind of trimming the fat, maybe adding a part, taking parts away. And this song in particular, Low Fruit, I remember like conceptually, Ollie and I having some conversation, probably something related to social media or the news cycle or public responding to things about the news cycle or something. And Oliver just had this, like, he was like, low hanging fruit, like people just reacting in a certain way to something in a certain way. But it just like stayed with me. And then that main riff, like I found a voice memo of it actually like a few weeks ago that I just did on acoustic guitar the same day that I found like the first little short demo that I made of it. I was like, that feels good. And then I just took it in and laid that down, got behind the drums. And I remember the idea, low hanging fruit, singing it coming out of me while playing the drums. It was just like, I was thinking of Ollie and I's conversation, came out, and that kind of like emotionally informed the direction and the vibe of the song. And then once we got it into the studio, we got into this really Sam playing bass, Oliver playing drums, me and Ollie playing guitars, and live tracking all the basics together. We were trying to get in this really like Ramones kind of headspace, kind of militant structure, just this, and this, just like
short song.
Yeah, like
done.
No bullshit, just like it's this, nothing fancy, except for just those little, how many times we do dun 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 dun, and just doing those in different ways.
We're all making a soup in a kitchen.
Yeah, best thought wins, and it's just kind of like, oh, trim that there. What if we hit that there? Evan will be like, what if we do it like this there? We play it. Yes, that feels good. Let's do that. It's just rolling in a very like systematic process, and every time it's time to record, just really surrendering to the energy of it sinking in. And Sam's really good at keeping us accountable as a producer, and all right guys, like we're at our, he's got the bass in his hand, kind of like getting ready to press record again, and we've done 12 now, we've done 8 now, whatever. Like we don't want to lose our momentum. Like let's get this one, like very kind of keeping us on track. And I'd say that's kind of like the spirit of how that one came together.
So from the initial idea, it sounds like you're quite quick to get everyone together and write the structure of the song and write the song. Is that the case?
We probably sat on that demo, having it and sharing it
for a while
with Ollie and Evan, probably for like 2 months, 3 months before we could all coordinate each other to get up to Sam's in upstate New York.
Yeah, because Rex usually has like the basic idea of songs, and then it's just kind of scheduled to bloom it in the studio together. Some of the songs were like that. It depends like how stuff
become very like diverse and collaborative in different ways. Like sometimes we'll write with, I'll sit at the drums and Ollie, like it depends on who's there, and Ollie will pick up the guitar and I'll sit behind the drums and we'll work out a song that way and jam, and I'll hear something he does and I'll go like, ooh, that's there. And we'll kind of just write like that. And then if Evan's here, obviously Evan will get on the drums, and then we'll just form something out, pull something out together. We'll riff on something all together that was a previous idea until someone else will get an idea of like, what if we take it in this direction or do this? And then you add Sam into that constellation and it's a whole other piece of the puzzle that comes together. But I think after that first session of this one, because we had just one other session the year before where the only song that made it from those 3 that we did were Waves, and there were 2 other ones that are like on the back burner now. And then we got in for a session, 8 months later, and I thought it was going to be another, we'll see what comes out of this, no album in mind or anything. And then did that session where we got Low Fruit and Gods and Heat and Megawatt, like the beginnings of all those going. And we were driving home from that trip and I was like, oh, I think we have like a new record here, basically. I think now we'll be more in the process of being able to actualize our ideas faster, kind of like what I feel like you were interpreting a second ago, because now this is our studio space here. It's just been complete over the past like month, took like a year to make. So we'll still be working with Sam, but we'll be able to get a lot more done beforehand before going to him. And something that may take 6 sessions over a year and a half with Sam, now we're ideally like wanting to establish into like 3.
So you've got the music video for this single by James Kerr. That's a super cool video. I'm not usually a video guy. I hate music videos. There's probably 5 that I like in my life, and this is one of them. Tell us a little bit about how that video came about.
What a cool experience to work with James. One, I'm usually like very involved in the process of videos all the way to the editing phase. I was still involved with editing some stuff with this one, but fairly minimally compared to other videos where I just like take the full reins. I couldn't believe it, but we concepted and went back and forth, made this video all in one thread of a Gmail conversation. We never even talked on the phone, I've never made a video with anyone who I haven't talked on the phone with, at least, even if we didn't. No, I mean, we always meet in person. James, I've been a fan of his stuff since probably 2019. I reached out to him on Instagram and he was like, yeah, let's talk about it. Send me the song, send him the song. He's like, wow, I actually really enjoyed that. I would love to do it with you guys. It was great to hear by the end of it. He was like, I also got to say, like, I usually like hate whatever song I'm working on by the time I finish a video of it. And he's like, and I'm still humming it every day. I love it. So that was cool to hear. And I just had like general outline of ideas for him. And he was on the same page so quickly. And so much of his work already felt like it lived in the universe that song looked like to me visually. So I really trusted him a lot with it. And he ran with it, and he had a lot of assets already made for like worlds and stuff that he has created. And he's been kind of building over time, long form, like all of his projects. He wants to be able to, like that he does with other artists, musicians, whatnot, music videos, but he will be probably making something in the next years that's something long form that you can watch where they all make sense seeing them together. So there's like a consistency to his work that I think is pretty cool and unique for a video artist. And a lot of his stuff is like sarcastic commentary on modern life mixed with this kind of like Renaissance painting aspect.
So you've just played Bond Street Block Party.
One block in Asbury Park outside of the Bond Street Bar. So it's like held by the Bond Street Bar. And so they do a thing with the city. There's like a thrift store across the street and their bar, put a little stage there. It's on a part of a one-way street. So it's a nice, easy little zone to block off.
How was it?
It's fucking
amazing,
so good.
yeah.
So fun. Really, really supportive community there in Asbury. It's just like 20 minutes from where me and Deanna and Ollie are down here. So it was very nice for us. The rest of the band came down from Brooklyn, but we're here in Jersey, and it was so good. It was so fun. So fun. Deanna had like conjunctivitis in one eye, so she wasn't having as much fun seeing her bass and stuff and playing. Really stoked to play with Levitation Room, who headlined it, make connections with them. Very cool people. Sunshine Spaz, who's like a local kind of 3-piece power trio shredder band here. So many great bands.
Because we want to break into the local scene down here as much as we can. So that was a really good way of doing it.
You seem to have played quite a bit live recently, but do you have plans for more shows soon? Because I haven't been able to find anything upcoming listed anywhere.
Not this year, unless a reasonable offer comes through. We're pretty interested in opening shows right now for bands that we like, and bands with larger draw, ideally. Yeah, we still consider ourselves a new band, and we played mostly all headline shows except for the festivals that we did this summer, and it was very fun. But we're taking a break right now unless something kind of out of the pattern comes that feels like very a really like good idea for us to do. We're going to be playing in Los Angeles, I believe, the second week of January for a KCRW event, the radio station there. They do a thing called School Night, and it looks like we're going to be doing that in early January at Zebulon there. It's one of our favorite venues in LA, so it should be very fun. It'll be synchronized with the release of another song, and then the album will be out in March, and then we plan to be back on the road in April playing shows. That we have an offer from a band who we really admire, and to do their direct support. So we'll see. Everyone will hear about that if it all happens.
Okay. Social media. Do the band embrace it or find it a chore?
It's a chore for me, for sure. Yeah, I embrace, like, when I'm having fun creatively to create something, like a section of a music video, making a reel for it and putting it up, or something that I'm excited about. But it's become more of a chore. And then the posting itself is a 100% chore. I don't enjoy that at all. I talk about it a lot with these guys, just that I'd love for us to be able to manifest a social media manager who we just trust. And if they're like even posting like one thing a day or every other day, just like knowing that if I wanted to check in on it, I'd look at it and be like, awesome, easy, great. Don't even have to think about it. That would be my dream.
Rex does it, obviously more of it than me. I barely do any of it, but just like the interface of bands and social media is just very abysmal to me. And I feel like it's not going to get any better. So it's kind of just like this feudalist thing in me when it comes to it, of it's constantly like views and reach is constantly being throttled the more and more time goes on. And it's kind of like, it's really becomes like a paying game at a certain point to like poke the machine to spread you out to more people. Like there's not much feedback other than like seeing analytics and being like, oh, this reached a certain amount of people. This did well.
We have made a lot of connections through it over the past couple of years. That's the double-edged sword of it, is that it's all the things Ollie was saying. And well, our manager found us on Spotify, but then, contacted us through Instagram.
So the final question, what music are you listening to at the moment that people may not be aware of and should take some time to check out?
The Gum Ambrose records are we really like a lot. Jay Watson from Pond and Tame Impala and so forth, and his own project Gum. And then Ambrose, Kenny Smith from King Gizzard and the Murlocs. They also have a joint band called just Gum Ambrose. Those records are amazing. They just put out a new one the other day. My favorite band right now is a band called Congratulations out of the UK. They're so good. They're on a Bella Union. They signed with them like a year ago, and they're getting ready to put out their record in February, I think, this of 26. I feel like I've picked up the Brazilian stuff again in the past couple weeks. Been very happy to dive back in. Was listening to some Phil Cordell the other week.
Oh yeah, Blood Incantation. I've been into them for a minute, and they're kind of having the moment right now. It's like if Pink Floyd and Morbid Angel or a death metal band met. Yeah, it's pretty cool if you're into heavier cosmic psychedelic music. It's very intense though if people aren't used to death metal. But they have moments where they chill out, and it's like Pink Floyd.
Another one of our like favorite legacy UK kind of unknown artists is Pete Dello. Yeah, highly recommend the record that he made, Into Your Ears. He was in a band called Honey Bus before that. Fantastic, cheeky, British kind of psych folk.
Yeah, you can hear a lot of like Beatles production elements in it and stuff, and it's one of those records I feel like that just flew under the radar during the time because it was 71.
So for anyone wishing to find out more about the band, your website is istasound.com, and you're on Instagram and Facebook. You have YouTube and SoundCloud. Did I miss anything? Are you one of these bands that went, we should try TikTok and put one video on, or not?
There's a couple on there. Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Probably 5 on there, maybe.
So Low Fruit, the latest single from Ista, is available now on all streaming platforms. Rex and Oliver, thank you for your time. Yeah, let me know when the album's coming out, and I'll welcome you back, and we can chat about that.
I will.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Daniel.
Daniel. Yeah, we have a date of March 13th right now is the prospective date.